said earlier, Mr. Brown, about your 4 weeks and workers should be given notice within 2 weeks of their shifts.
Yes, that's...
You said exceptionally you do it in 1 week's notice if the manager was off sick.
It was an example.
Is there not somebody else that could do a shift?
To be honest, I'm not sure it was a great example. It was in the spare of the moment. I couldn't give you a specific example as to why it was. That's just the standard procedure that we have in place to make sure that we don't find people only finding out, the day before or the morning of shifts that they're being allocated.
You've got a process internally that if it's less than a week or less notice, that gets flagged up on your internal systems.
We have a dashboard that flags through across all of our 0 hours workers arrangements what are the number of hours they're being allocated, and then what are the maximum minimum people they need to employ to be able to make sure we're not offering fewer hours than we should be versus our commitments. So we've got a decent process.
In the last 12 months then, what percentage of rotas were published with a week's notice or less than your 2 week standards?
I think I said this to Mr. Poynton earlier. I don't have that number to be able to share, but I'm sure we can get that.
Thank you. And you said that your best practice then is 2 weeks. That's what you said is your best practice. Yeah. Then if you're earlier we were told that actually 4 weeks is what they're expecting. So why is your best practice half of USDOR's recommended?
I think probably a difference in view between the two groups of what's appropriate. I mean, ultimately, we I think to Mr. Carberry's point earlier, we aspire to be able to do these things more effectively and further in advance. That is our ambition, to continue to work towards that. So at some point, I'm sure Mr. Lillis's view and my own will hopefully come to a nice meeting point. But at this point in time, that is the standard that we have in place.
If your aspiration is to move towards that place, and that's what
to be more effective, across all of our workforce planning, it is.
And that's what you're working towards to make it better.
Ambition to.
In say the last 10 years, how has your shift planning come on then? What developments? If it's 2 weeks now, would you say 5 years ago it was only 1 week was the best practice? Are you moving in that right direction? Or not?
I mean, look, the technology has been discussed as a sort of massive enabler of how we do this. We have invested a lot in how we allocate shifts. Shifts can only be allocated to individuals at availability they've given us, so you can't be given a shift. The system will not allow you to be given a shift if you've not said you can work at that time. There's another one of the protections we have in place. People can swap shifts and reject shifts via the app and then sign that back up. So it all becomes much more effective, much more real time for individuals. I think this begs the question as to I think the point made by Mr. Carberry earlier, the nature of how people want to work in these situations has evolved and is changing. Real time and that flexibility is super valuable. So
to me though, it begs, if we've got all this technology, as you've said, it begs the question to me why you're only doing it with 2 weeks notice rather than 4 or 5 or 6. You know the peaks and troughs, as we've said already, and you know what your budgets will be. You've got to budget throughout your year, your stores have, and your area managers will. So do your area managers only know what the store's targets and budgets are 4 weeks before?
We confirm them that far out, and that is us ensuring that the natural peaks and troughs that come through our business, they've been planned for.
That's standard in retail, would you say? It's not standard in retail where I've worked before, having targets 4 weeks beforehand.
Okay.
Would you your career was Evans Cycles, now Fraser's?
Yeah.
Would you say that's
rota planning
in retail?
Rota planning a month in advance is not exceptional, I don't think.
No, not rota planning, but knowing your budgets and your targets. Yeah. So in my retail background, I knew my targets. I knew what my staffing budget was.
Understood.
For the calendar year.
I understand. And my point is that they are confirmed, and therefore, obviously, we don't start to schedule things and then change them. It comes back to the essence of what we've been talking about in this room. They are confirmed 4 weeks out, and that is the point at which a manager can start to do it.
Okay. Really poor business planning, isn't it?
I'm not sure that I'd agree with that point. I get where you're coming from, given your previous experience, but I'm not sure that that's unique to our organisation as a retailer.